When you stop caring, everything falls into place. Ease comes when you let go. Have you ever noticed that the more you try to control life, the further happiness seems to slip away? In today's video, we explore a timeless truth: when you stop grasping, worrying, and demanding certainty, life flows effortlessly toward you. You'll discover why excessive effort often backfires, how the silent energy of deficiency pushes away what you seek, and why true inner strength emerges only when you let go. Letting go isn't indifference, it's the highest form of trust. Together, we'll explore the art of releasing expectations while keeping your heart open to life's beautiful unfolding. If you've been carrying the weight of needing to control every outcome, this message is your permission to finally breathe easier. Stay with us. Sometimes, the greatest victories come not from holding tighter, but from letting go. When you stop grasping, the world begins to flow toward you. There is a strange paradox in life that very few are willing to believe: when you stop trying to hold on tightly, life begins to arrange itself in the best way for you. The more you cling, crave, and attempt to control everything, the more you push what you desire further away. But when you release your grip, the world, in a miraculous way, begins to flow toward you, effortlessly and naturally. Montaigne, a 16th-century philosopher, once said that we suffer not because of what happens, but because of how we resist the natural flow of life. He recognized that the obsession with control causes people to lose their inner peace, and thus, their ability to deeply experience life itself. Letting go does not mean giving up. It is a profound act of trust in yourself, trust in the natural unfolding of all things. When you stop struggling, you allow your mind to heal, and your inner strength to be revived through the quiet presence within you. Sometimes, stepping back is the most powerful way to move forward, not through force, but through attunement with the flow of life. The more you try to control, the further happiness slips away. There is a truth that many people don't realize until it's too late. The more you try to control life, the more you push happiness out of reach. It's like clutching a handful of sand: the tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. Have you ever experienced this? When you try to control every word, every action to please someone, you suddenly become rigid and unnatural. And instead of drawing them closer, you create an invisible distance. This doesn't happen only in love. It happens in work, in dreams, in every aspect of life where you try to grip instead of letting go. Control is born from fear. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear that without a tight grip, everything will fall apart. Yet paradoxically, it is this very fear, this need to control, that causes us to lose the most precious things. Montaigne observed that those who are constantly worried, calculating, and manipulating outcomes live in a state of perpetual unease. They are not truly living, they are merely bracing against life's natural flow. Healing begins with the courage to admit: you cannot control everything. And you don't need to. When you let go, when you stop fighting over every tiny detail, you allow life to bring you unexpected gifts, beautiful things you could never have planned for. True control is not about manipulating the world out there. It is about mastering your inner world. Knowing when to act, when to release, and always keeping your soul free, no matter how the tides of life rise and fall. You don't need to grip life tightly to keep it. You only need to open your heart wide enough to receive it. The backward law: the harder you force, the more you fail. There is a silent but immensely powerful law operating in life. The more you try to force something, the more elusive it becomes. This is known as the backward law, and it profoundly shapes how we experience the world. Have you ever tried to force yourself to sleep when anxious? The more you tried, the more awake you became. Have you ever tried hard to appear confident in an interview or an important meeting? The harder you tried, the more visible your anxiety became, in your eyes, your voice, your every gesture. Excessive effort causes us to lose our natural state, the only state from which ease, success, And genuine connection can emerge. When you force yourself into a particular mental state, you create pressure and internal resistance. And it is precisely this resistance that pushes you further away from what you seek. Montaigne deeply understood this backward law. He saw the downfall of those who wrestled endlessly to achieve some perfect idea of themselves or their lives. And he also witnessed the natural brilliance of those who could relax and allow life to adjust its rhythm. The key is not to abandon effort but to change the quality of your effort. Shift from forcefulness to presence. From a race to attain, to a journey of living fully in each moment. Healing begins when you no longer force yourself to become perfect according to imposed standards. Inner strength is built when you can work wholeheartedly without falling into the trap of total control. And the meaning of life reveals itself when you realize, sometimes, the most precious things only come when you stop demanding their arrival. Remember, life does not reward coercion. Life rewards openness. The invisible deficiency that makes you lose everything. There is an invisible energy we emit each day, and it determines everything we attract or lose in life. It is the energy of deficiency. When you desperately crave something, a relationship, a job, an opportunity, you are subconsciously sending out a signal: I am lacking. I am not enough. And the world, like a faithful mirror, reflects that internal state by keeping what you desire just out of reach. Think back to a time when you longed too intensely for something. You worried, you clung. You feared losing the opportunity. And that subtle panic caused you to act awkwardly, unnaturally, eventually pushing what you wanted further away. Montaigne observed that people do not fail because they lack ability, but because they carry an inner posture of deficiency, lacking confidence, lacking presence, lacking trust in the natural flow of life. The strange thing is, when you stop emitting the energy of lack, when you act from a wellspring of inner fullness, the things you need start coming to you. Effortlessly, without force. Healing here is the shift from, I lack, to, I am enough. Building inner strength means daring to believe, your value does not depend on what you possess. It lies in your complete and vibrant presence. And meaning is not found by filling internal voids with external things, but by embracing yourself, even when there seems to be nothing to boast about. Life does not demand that you be perfect to be worthy of love. It only asks that you have the courage to stop clinging, and the patience to build a resilient soul from within. Letting go is not indifference, it's loving the right way. Letting go is often misunderstood. People think it means rejection, abandonment, or indifference toward life. But the truth is far deeper. Letting go is not about ceasing to love, it is about changing the way you love. When you let go of an expectation, a person, or an outcome, you are not stopping caring. You are simply choosing not to let that desire shackle you, not to let it make you forget who you are. You love, but you do not cling. You care. But you do not let your life be defined by the outcomes you desire. Montaigne once said, excessive attachment is the root of suffering. And he observed this not only in grand tragedies but also in the small habits of daily life, the obsession with being right, with winning, with being loved in a certain way. Letting go is an act of courage. It requires enough self-trust, enough self-love, to refuse to imprison yourself within narrow expectations. It is an active choice. To love without possessing, to connect without controlling, to be present without grasping. True healing begins when you realize, you don't need to control every outcome to love wholeheartedly. Inner strength is built when you can continue offering goodness from within, even when the world does not respond as you wish. And meaning is found when you understand the value of love, effort. And life itself does not lie in possession, but in the fact that you lived and loved as truly as you could. Sometimes, loving rightly is not about clenching tighter, but about opening your heart and setting everything free. Inner strength only emerges when you let go. We often mistakenly believe that inner strength comes from tightly controlling everything, from high-strung tension, from preparing for every possible scenario. But in truth, the most sustainable strength only arises when we know how to let go. A mind bracing itself against life will quickly become exhausted. But a mind that knows how to accept, to be flexible, to allow itself to be fully present in each moment, that is a truly strong mind. Montaigne observed that those who live in a constant state of forcing themselves to be happy, to succeed, to be accepted, are often the ones who shatter most easily when life throws a curveball. In contrast, those who know how to release, who don't demand that life always align with their will, are the ones who possess a miraculous capacity for endurance and recovery. Letting go does not mean abandoning effort. Letting go means abandoning the need for absolute control. It is allowing yourself to walk forward, step by step, making efforts while also accepting the inherent imperfections of life. Healing comes when you stop punishing yourself every time things don't go according to plan. Building inner strength begins with keeping your heart soft toward the world, rather than hardening it out of fear of being hurt. And finding the meaning of life does not lie in conquering every circumstance, but in being able to open your heart, to love, and to live fully even amidst uncertainty. True inner strength does not come from controlling everything outside of you. It comes from steadfastly accompanying yourself through every rise and fall. The illusion of control, the sweet trap of suffering. Humans are born with a primal need, the need to control. We believe that if we can control everything, the future, others, outcomes, we will be safe. We imagine that certainty will protect us from pain. But this is merely a sophisticated illusion. And that illusion, cruelly enough, is the true source of our suffering. Montaigne realized that humans do not suffer because of what happens, but because of how they resist what happens. When we confront reality, trying to twist it into our personal expectations, we engage in a never-ending war, a war against the natural course of life. Picture a river. If you try to block its flow, the water will rise and break through every barrier. But if you know how to harness its current, to move with it, the river becomes your ally, not your enemy. We suffer not because life doesn't go our way, but because we cling to the expectation that it should. We trap ourselves in stories of should have and must be. And each time reality doesn't match these expectations, our inner wounds deepen. Healing begins with the acknowledgement, I don't need to control everything to live in peace. Building inner strength is learning to let go of the illusion of control and instead cultivating flexible adaptability. Finding meaning is not about forcing the world to fit our mold, but about discovering ourselves through the natural unfolding of life's moments. The sweet trap of control is always tempting, always promising. But only when we are brave enough to step out of it can we truly be free. When you let go, your energy becomes a magnet for good things. There is a profound truth that few notice. The energy you carry within yourself is the message you send to the world. No words, no grand actions are needed. Your very presence reveals whether you are living in lack or fullness, in anxiety or in peace. When you let go, when you stop bracing yourself against life, something miraculous happens, your inner energy transforms. From a state of lack, you move into a state of presence. From forcing, you move into allowing. And this transformation turns you into a natural magnet for good things. You no longer need to chase love, opportunities, or success. They come to you naturally, because in the state of letting go, you no longer emit the frequency of lack. You emit the frequency of abundance. And the universe always resonates with the energy you truly carry within. Montaigne keenly observed that those who live lightly, naturally, and allow life to flow often seem luckier. Not because they are objectively luckier, but because they live in harmony with life's natural rhythm, without forcing, without controlling, without clinging. Healing begins with changing your core energy from fear to trust. Building inner strength is not about muscling through, but about letting go deeply enough for your natural strength to emerge. Finding the meaning of life is not about clinging, it is about traveling lightly with the miraculous flow of existence. You don't need to become someone else to be loved or to succeed. You only need to return to your truest state, relaxed, present, and allowing good things to find you. The obsession with certainty, the demon that imprisons your soul. One of humanity's greatest obsessions is the need to know for sure what will happen. To know you will succeed. To know you will be loved, to know you will be safe. But it is this very need, the need for absolute certainty, that secretly imprisons our souls in fear and limitation. We think certainty will bring peace. But in truth, the more we seek certainty, the more we lose our inner freedom. Because life is, by its nature, a flow of uncertainty. When we demand it to be fixed and predictable, we are only met with disappointment, insecurity, and a nameless anxiety. Montaigne saw this clearly. The most miserable people are not those who face the harshest circumstances, but those who refuse to release their rigid expectations of life. They resisted change, clung to familiarity, even when it no longer served their growth. The obsession with certainty causes us to lose our adaptability, the very softness and flexibility that are key to living a full life. Healing begins when you dare to admit, no one can know exactly what will happen. And that is not a threat, it is an opportunity. Building inner strength means learning to stand firm even in the winds of change, trusting in your ability to adapt, rather than in the permanence of the outside world. Finding meaning in life comes when you stop demanding guarantees from life and start walking forward with courage, embracing whatever may come. In truth, the deepest freedom only comes when you relinquish the need to know everything in advance, and open yourself to uncertainty as an essential part of your journey of growth. Truly successful people are masters of flexibility. We often imagine successful people as those who are rigid, relentless, and never change their goals. But the deeper reality is far more nuanced. The most sustainably successful people are not stubborn, they are masters of flexibility. They do not cling to a plan when life changes. They do not imprison themselves in outdated paths simply because they are familiar. They possess a precious skill: reading the pulse of reality and adjusting themselves consciously to the flow. Montaigne realized that it is softness, not rigidity, that enables people to survive the great storms of life. An inflexible oak may snap in a storm, but the pliant reed bends with the wind and survives. Great artists like Leonardo da Vinci, brilliant inventors, masterful investors, all share one quality. They do not fight uncertainty. They collaborate with it. They do not confine themselves within rigid definitions. They allow themselves to evolve, expand, and transform as life invites. Healing doesn't come from clinging to an idealized image of yourself, but from accepting that you can change, grow, and be reborn many times in a lifetime. Building inner strength comes from cultivating the ability to stand tall not because the world is stable, but because you have learned to be as flexible as water. Finding meaning in life is not about completing a rigid plan but about continuously renewing yourself at the unexpected crossroads of existence. Those who know how to adapt are not afraid of change. They know that every shake-up in life is an invitation to become a larger, fuller version of themselves. Turning uncertainty into a game, the secret of inner freedom. In a world that constantly changes, where any plan can fall apart in an instant, there are two ways to live. Either to fight desperately against uncertainty, or to turn it into your own game. Montaigne observed that the happiest people are not those who control everything. They are those who see life as a river full of surprises, and instead of resisting, they smile and dance along with it. Inner freedom does not come from having everything go your way. It comes from the ability to face the unknown without losing yourself. It is the ability to see every disruption as a new creative opportunity. Every crossroads as an invitation to grow. When you stop treating uncertainty as the enemy, you begin to see it as a blank canvas, where you are free to experiment, create, and be reborn. Life is no longer a series of battles to be won, but a playground where every failure, every surprise, becomes a precious lesson. Healing begins when you stop expecting life to be perfect in order to find peace. Building inner strength is when you can stand amidst uncertainty and still keep your inner fire, the fire of faith in yourself. Finding the meaning of life is when you accept that it is precisely in the most uncertain moments that your true self shines the brightest. Life does not need you to be invincible. It needs you to be courageous, flexible, and free enough inside to play with the very things others fear. When you learn to smile at uncertainty, you don't just live, you soar. When you stop fighting life, life clears the way for you. We are often taught that to succeed, to be happy, we must fight. We must struggle, wrestle, and win every inch. But Montaigne, with his deep understanding of life's nature, pointed to a different truth: the more you fight against life, the more exhausted you become, the more you relax and harmonize with it, the farther you go. Life is not a battlefield where you must constantly impose your will. It is a flowing current, and those who know how to move with it reach shores that brute strength or sheer willpower could never touch. When you stop struggling, when you stop demanding that everything bend to your will, you free up an enormous source of energy that had been wasted on resistance. That energy can now be used to create, to love, and to be fully present in this life. Healing begins when you accept. I don't need to always win to be worthy of happiness. Building inner strength is cultivating the ability to walk with life, not by surrendering, but by co-creating with it. Finding the meaning of life is realizing that true value does not come from conquering the world, but from the ability to open your heart and welcome life as a companion. When you stop bracing yourself against every change, when you learn to listen and shift with each new rhythm, life will gently open paths you never even imagined. Embracing the void, the key to healing after letting go. After every letting go, there will always be a void. A feeling of loss, emptiness, disorientation, as if you have just abandoned a part of yourself. That feeling is real. And the important thing is not to avoid it, but to learn to embrace it as a natural part of the healing journey. The void after letting go is not a darkness to fear. It is the empty space necessary for something new to emerge. Just as a field must be plowed, just as a room must be cleared before it can welcome new things, our soul also needs space to be reborn. Montaigne understood this, that every time we relinquish control, an expectation, we are also letting go of an outdated version of ourselves. And that loss is necessary for growth. Healing does not happen when we rush to fill the void with something else. It happens when we are brave enough to sit with the emptiness, to listen to the vague emotions rising, and to allow ourselves to grow from it. Building inner strength is when you are no longer afraid of the quiet spaces in your life. Finding meaning is realizing emptiness is not the end, it is the beginning of a new chapter, deeper and truer. When you learn to embrace the void, you no longer run away from yourself. You open the door to stepping into a more mature version of who you are. Building inner strength, from presence, not from outcomes. True strength does not come from what you achieve, but from how you stay present with your life, even when nothing is certain. Inner strength is not measured by accomplishments or victories, but by your ability to remain calm and steady through every outcome. When you base your entire self-worth on success or failure, you become fragile. You hand over your inner power to external circumstances. But when you learn to be fully present with each moment, whether joyful or painful, easy or challenging, you begin to build a source of strength that cannot be shaken. Montaigne pointed out that inner freedom only belongs to those who no longer condition their worth on external outcomes. They do not live to conquer life, they live to accompany it, with courage, with trust, and with unconditional love for themselves. Healing begins when you stop measuring your value by your results. Building inner strength is the persistent practice of living fully in each moment, regardless of what it brings. Finding meaning is realizing that happiness is not at the destination, it is in how you walk, in your complete presence with the journey you are living. Presence is a silent power. And from that, inner strength grows, steadily, quietly, like breath, like the heartbeat. The meaning of life lies not in victory, but in silent growth. We grow up in a world that celebrates winning, winning at work. In love, in the endless race for achievements. But few tell us that sometimes, the deepest meaning of life is not found in loud victories, but in the quiet growth that only we ourselves can see. Montaigne saw this clearly: the true value of a human life is not measured by how much they have accumulated, but by who they have become through the journey. Every time you let go of an illusion, every time you endure pain without letting it break your spirit, every time you choose to trust even when the world is uncertain, these are the silent victories. Steadfast and far greater than any trophy. Healing happens when you realize you don't have to prove your worth with outcomes. Building inner strength is quietly growing from within. Even when no one notices, even when there is no applause. And finding meaning is understanding that every step forward, every stumble and rise, every silent surrender or courageous choice, is a beautiful, wordless song of a maturing soul. Life does not require you to win all the time. Life only asks that you live truly, growing little by little, in silence, in wisdom, in kindness to yourself. Life is not a competition to be won. It is a journey of endless understanding, healing, and growth through the experiences we once sought to avoid. When you stop grasping, stop fighting, stop demanding that life obey your will, another door opens, the door that leads to true inner freedom. We cannot control the current of life, but we can learn to dance with it. We cannot avoid pain, but we can turn it into the raw material for growth. And we cannot foresee every turn, but we can walk steadily with an open heart and trust in ourselves. Remember, your value does not lie in what you achieve, but in how you show up for yourself in every moment. In each silent step, each letting go without losing courage, each serene breath amid change. You are living a life of profound meaning, greater than any visible triumph. And when you relax, release, and fully inhabit the present, life, in its most miraculous way, will quietly lead you to where you truly belong.